Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first installment of Dude Pigskin. Week 1 of 2019 is just wrapped up, and we're here today to do a little bit of a recap on both the redraft and the Dynasty Bubby Fantasy Football Leagues. I'm joined by my co-host, Peyton.
It's been a trash week for me, for sure.
Yeah, well, not as trash as Scopa, which is a nice segue into our first topic. We're going to go through the redraft league matches first, starting with my matchup versus Scopa.
That you weaseled through.
Well, I kind of knew I had it all along. Scopa's got to be feeling pretty bad right now. And it's all thanks to, I was down 13 coming into Monday night with only Darren Waller, a.k.a. the Walrus, a.k.a.
Walmart, we going to Walla 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 World. Walla 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 World. Walmart, she going to Walmart, they going to Walmart, baby. Walmart, we going to Walla 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 World. Walla 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 World.
All right. So
Okay.
my running back core is obviously just freakish, bro. Like, let's just
Nobody sub 20, right?
get that out of the way. My fourth string running back dropped 13. So that's all I'll say about that one.
Dude, that's ridiculous, honestly.
This
is the league you have Carson in, right?
Yes, Carson was in my flex. So basically, as long as Jared Goff figures it out, I should have a pretty decent season.
Yeah,
Scopa,
dude.
by the way, was the third highest scoring person, I think, in redraft and lost. And then he was second highest in Dynasty.
Yeah. I was going to say, we can get to that where it's even worse than the Dynasty.
Yeah. Bad news for Scopa is that Demaryius Thomas, wide receiver on his bench, got traded to the Jets. That's just terrible news for anybody, really. Any of your players get traded to the Jets.
Up, dude.
And then Darius Geis. The big question on him was whether or not he could stay healthy this season, and the answer seems to be no, because he came out of that game with a meniscus injury of some kind, unspecified. So he's looking like he's gonna miss some time for sure.
Scopa's team looks terrifying now, especially with Lev Bell. I mean, he was in every snap in that game.
Oh, Lev Bell
put up
is
stupid numbers.
Lev Bell, a lot of question marks on him coming into the season. He looks like he's gonna absolutely kill it. Be a steal.
Numbers. And he's on a ton of pass plays, and it's just there's a lot more usage than I thought I would have seen from especially week 1 and the head coaching staff there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And also, I got lucky. This dude's got the Mahomes-Kelsey stack that could have absolutely destroyed me if it weren't for the Lizard Man.
Did you see the tweet that Mahomes sent out where he just absolutely launched a ball past Kelsey trying to throw it sidearm and said he was going to have to buy him dinner?
Oh, yeah, and it was like 10 feet over his head.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that stack is definitely going to be gnarly later on.
All right, so that's going to be it for me and Scopa's matchup. Scopa, you're trash. You get destroyed. Good luck next week, though. Next up, we're going to talk about the matchup between my co-host Peyton and Peter, and just wanted to be known that Peyton is a member of the sub 100 club this week, coming in at 99.96 points.
This close, and I really hate to see it, dude. Everybody just underperformed. I mean, in both my leagues, and especially just riddled with injuries. And this was the Super Bowl rematch, dude, and I got washed. I got absolutely walked. Respect to Peter's team. Both of Peter's teams look ridiculous this year.
Yeah, for sure.
To be honest. But that matchup especially hurt.
Yeah, you had David Montgomery, unfortunate performance. Nick Chubb, Mike Evans. I think Nick Chubb and Mike Evans will be fine, though.
Yeah, I mean, Titans' defense against Chubb was definitely part of the issue. I didn't think they'd be as ridiculous as they were. I mean, there's talks about them
nobody did.
Even better.
Nobody thought the Titans were going to 43-13 smoke the Browns like that.
Yeah, and I knew that the hype was overblown for the Browns, obviously, but I didn't think it was for Chubb, and I don't think it is for Chubb, but I hope that turns around and he stays healthy because I need healthy players right now.
So I have a note about Peter being the absolute worst homer of all time in the Dynasty League, but I've just now noticed that he actually has the not active Rob Gronkowski on his bench in week 1. So
yeah,
that's an interesting move. You could probably leave him on the wire and nobody will touch him. But if you want to take up that spot, go ahead.
He's not coming back, dude. As simple as that. He's not.
You're feeling really good with Lamar Jackson in both leagues, though.
Oh, he's a freak. He ran 3 times for 6 yards, and his deep ball looked like a different player.
Oh,
and I know he can still
5
scramble.
tutties? Nuts.
Yeah, he looked. I mean, at the same time, we're talking about the Dolphins team that half the team wants to get traded now.
Yeah, that's definitely a rough hit.
But even then, I mean, he looked unreal. I'm glad I kind of gambled on that, and it's paying off. But the rest of my team has to show up now.
Yeah, and you know that I was looking for Lamar Jackson in my drafts too.
Yeah, and we had the bench warriors with Sammy Watkins dropping an obscene amount of points and being the receiving leader of week 1, which is expected by no one ever.
Except himself.
And Eckler on Peter's bench dropping almost 40 at 39.40, which is... I thought the carries were going to be more split. I mean, even on like the coach's side, they said it was going to be 50-50, and it was more like 70-30, and he was on every red zone drive, just shredding. So
yeah, I don't think it's a mistake sitting Austin Eckler this week, same as Sammy Watkins in week 1, that is. Just because you really, like you said, you really didn't know what the
huge question mark.
The split was going to be. And then Sammy Watkins, he could catch 3 balls for 30 yards next week.
I told you Sammy Watkins was calling my name in the mocks, dude. And
I know, you really did. Through the whole preseason. I was not touching Sammy Watkins. I had him last year. He missed a bunch of games with injuries and then just didn't perform well even when he was playing. So I didn't want anything to do with it.
And he's a huge number 2. I mean, Mahomes got his go-to guys in Kelsey and Hill. And I mean, obviously with Tyreek's injury, that's a huge factor now. And Watkins even going forward and now proving himself. I mean, he's serious starting material, even at the wide receiver 1 position, I think. He's a freak.
Speaking of Tyreek Hill's injury, we're going to move on to the next game, Megan versus Maloney. And Megan is also a member of the Sub 100 Club and has been awarded the Dumpster Fire of the Week award.
Congrats.
She put up the lowest score at 81.74 total points. And that was on the back of Devontae Adams with 7.6 points and Tyreek Hill with 4.10 points.
It's just, it hurts. That hurts to see. Especially that's your starting wide receiver core, and you expect them to almost basically carry you. I mean, obviously, from seeing the points that the rest of the team put up too, but you'd think that they themselves could almost win you some matchups.
Especially those two who were both top 3 receivers last season.
Yeah, and especially with both of them have huge explosive potential, and Hill more bust potential than Devontae, but I still don't think either of them really would bust too often, and they've both had their worst games in the last like 2 seasons or something.
Yeah, but Hill also came out with a serious injury, so that's he definitely could have done more if he weren't injured. But Devontae Adams, the Green Bay offense just looked absolutely terrible.
Yeah. That game.
And granted, it was against the Bears defense. And it was week 1, so we'll see how they do this week. But
I'm very curious to see how the Bears and Packers do in their own separate games, especially with neither of the QBs getting preseason reps. Hopefully something turns around, especially.
Yeah, I think that definitely affected Trubisky a ton. He looked terrible.
Yeah, that was a nightmare.
I think Devontae Adams will be fine, though.
I want to erase that game from my brain forever.
Oh, yeah. We all do. First game of the season, trash. Would have rather watched a baseball game. But not really. Right. Not really. I'm just kidding about that. Baseball's trash. If Peter could have Red Sox players on his dynasty bench, he most certainly would.
Oh, yeah. 100%. It's the homer is so... it gets annoying to a point, but it's so deep that I respect it.
Oh, yeah.
The homer influence.
He's definitely big-time homer, doesn't care who knows it.
I respect it.
All right, and this is going to bring us into our next matchup, a very exciting award going on this one. It's Matt Rich versus Ariana, and one of Ariana's players, Christian McCaffrey, has been awarded the Isaiah Crowell Croho Nation Slam Sedan Best Running Back of the Week award. and that's pretty self-explanatory. Christian McCaffrey is an absolute fiend, especially in PPR.
Absolute freak.
Just those 10 catches alone got more than those 10 points were more than some people's RB1s this week.
Yeah, and I mean, it's week 1. Performances are all over the place, but McCaffrey literally just looks like he picked up right where he left off, and you get excited for these wide receivers on the Panthers, but Cam Newton's just looking worse and worse, and McCaffrey seems like their only option at this point, and I think it's scary to say that I think that he averages around the mark he's at.
Yeah, 42.9 points, and it's not even a surprise.
Yeah. That's in the pre-drafts and when we were doing mocks and stuff, I was considering taking him number 1 overall. I mean, I didn't have that option, but he's just such a freak in PPR that it's so hard to go past him.
Yeah, and Cam Newton actually came out and said earlier today that he thinks that Christian McCaffrey has a chance of hitting 1,000 rushing and receiving yards this season. So expect just an absolutely insane amount of work for him moving forward.
Expect either team that has McCaffrey in both leagues to get very close, if not in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
just because of it.
He's absolutely insane.
Yeah. And the funniest part about that in your notes, in our notes, is that Marriage still lost.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Marriage had Christian McCaffrey with 42.90 points, and he lost partly because of Sony Michel with 1.4 points.
Now, I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't watch much of that game. Is there a reason? Was he just not involved? Was he hurt? Or
I actually also did not watch a lot of that game.
But as you do. It's the Steelers versus the Pats, dude. I don't care.
Yeah, the Steelers are gonna lose. Let's just get that out of the way.
You think the Cam Newton stack would have been money, especially with McCaffrey's numbers, but it was the opposite.
Yeah, Cam Newton with 6.36 points, and I feel you on this one, Marriage. I played him in Dynasty. That definitely hurts at the quarterback position to have that low of a number.
But Ariana, the one that the team that Marriage was playing, Ariana's team, I mean, she had Stone Cold Steve Hopkins suplex somebody and then get 31 points.
Stone Cold Steve Hopkins is great.
The Jacobs, dude, she's got a terrifying team.
Oh yeah,
Josh Jacobs, she's. I'm huge on Evan Ingram this year. I think he's going to be ridiculous.
Ariana's flex dropped straight up 0 points. Corey Davis with the goose egg, and she still handily defeated Barrich by 20 points.
That's ridiculous. Josh Jacobs living up to his name, living up to what people expected.
Oh yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
I'm very happy to own him in Dynasty.
Oh yeah, I get that. I don't know why I stayed away from him a little bit in the preseason. Probably because of just the Raiders and to my own.
He was a question mark.
Misfortune, but
for sure.
The Raiders, man. It's the Raiders.
All right, and next we are going to move on to Taylor versus Neon. And Taylor is our third member of the Sub 100 Club with 97.12 points.
Welcome to the club.
Taylor, welcome to the club from fellow member Peyton.
It's real cold down here.
Taylor Keenan Allen went off, and he's the only player on his team other than Gostkowski who actually reached their projection.
And so I don't want to hop too far down the notes, but I need answers. This is our redraft league, so not deep bench, and he has Crow on his bench.
Okay, so I was actually about to mention that because it's worse than that.
Okay.
He has the Crow, Isaiah Crowell, as you all know, who's on injured reserve. He has Kareem Hunt, who is suspended until so he's suspended until at least week 8, I think, right?
And then there's a huge question mark depending on how Chubb
he's
does.
probably going to be the backup to Chubb. Yeah. And then he also still has Devin Funchess, who of course was fractured his collarbone.
As you do.
And is on injured reserve. So he's got 3 players who are essentially nothing on his bench right now.
He's got room to move, and I think he'll be able to pick that back up. I really liked how Taylor drafted, honestly, throughout the draft, but obviously it did not pan out because I don't think, like you said, barely anybody reached their projections. I mean, Saquon, it's Saquon. Still 17.9, but still disappointing. Aaron Jones looked like kind of what people expected Aaron Jones to look like in a Green Bay backfield.
Yeah, very slow game for them. He'll have better games, but I don't see him reaching like the upper echelon RB1 levels.
Yeah.
And then Miles Sanders. I believe in Miles Sanders more than I do David Montgomery.
Do you really?
Yeah, just because I think that the Eagles will be more inclined to actually use him if he plays well.
The snap count was much more promising for Sanders than Montgomery, definitely. I just pray to God that the Bears coordinators figure it out and learn their lesson.
I really hope they do because, like we were talking about it earlier, he looked great on the snaps that he played. Like when he got the ball, he was like making people miss, and he looked really elusive.
He's shedding tackles, and that's what he was drafted for. That's why he was his I don't know the actual stats, but I mean he led in college football most positive and like broken tackles, and that's exactly what he did in the field. And it's embarrassing for the Bears and Bears fans to just walk away from that. Maybe he's getting eased in, but
that said it is week 1, so it might change in the future. But
that's what I think's happening with Sanders, is that he's getting eased in.
Yeah, that's why I see Sanders on more of a natural progression, whereas I think the Bears could literally just have Montgomery have a lesser role for the entire season.
It's a much more volatile backfield, I think. But there's so many RBs that Sanders has to compete with as well.
Yeah, true. That's a crowded backfield for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to the last match in the redraft league, and this match features our MVP of the week, Crispy, highest scoring with 146.80 points. And he was facing Alec, who came out with 122.82. First thing I wanted to note was that Crispy got 17 points from Harrison Butker, so that just is instantly going to just give you a big boost, getting 17 from your kicker.
That's pretty ridiculous, yeah. I mean it's the Chiefs. That's their Chiefs kicker, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. Yeah, I mean it's the Chiefs offense. You kind of expect that, even against the 100%. Jags defense. It's just how it is. He's a perfect pickup. But I mean that is nice. That's a nice boost.
Alex's team doesn't look bad, but he definitely was let down by a few members of his receiving core. He had Mike Williams drop 4.9 points, and Curtis Samuel drop 6.2. So that's rough. And then also Zeke underperformed a little bit, fellow Buckeye boy again, at 13.3 points. So I'd expect most of their numbers to go back up next week. I don't think he has anything to worry about, honestly.
Yeah, I especially for Curtis Samuel, and I mean I think Zeke. Everybody's like, well, he's been training in Cabo and stuff like that. I mean, he still hasn't played preseason snaps. He still wasn't in camp. I mean, Zeke especially is going to be. I think he's going to see as many touches as they can feed him, especially with how much they paid him. And Curtis Samuel, you just pray to God Cam Newton shows up. That's all you can do.
Yeah, that's pretty much the biggest thing with Curtis Samuel is, will Cam Newton pass to someone who's not named Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so that's going to wrap up the recap of the matchups from this week. Congrats to all of our winners, and to all of our losers, better luck next week. We're all rooting for you, unless you're facing me. All right, so we're going to move into some trash talk. So I solicited some one-line trash talk from the members of the league today. A few people got back to me, so I'm just going to read the ones that I got so far. So Crispy is facing Ariana next week, and to Ariana, he had to say this: Baker Mayfield, overrated. And that's it. Yeah, it was short and sweet. Definitely hurts because you paid up a decent amount of draft capital in terms of drafting a quarterback for Baker.
Yeah, and I'd say I'm not a huge Baker believer when it comes to a lot of people. I think people think that he's got the weapons around him, he can do it, but I just don't. I think that his ego and everything is going to take a hit this season, to be honest. I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it for as a Chubb owner.
Yeah, I think they should be okay. I think they'll level out.
That's fair.
Next
you
up
want me to
is
read this one?
You can read Alex. Yes. So next up is me versus Alec.
Yeah, this is Alec at Tyler. He says, "Is this is goblin a race or a species? Need to know for your team's obituary."
Okay, real funny, buddy.
I mean, it's a good question. I hope you.
Honestly, that was a good one. I did laugh when I read that. That was a really good one. And then to Alec, I had to say. So let me preface this by saying that I'm facing the geriatric unit of the league this week. I'm facing Alec in redraft, and I'm facing Neon in Dynasty. Neon, don't worry, you'll get yours later. But here's my first old person joke of the night, and it's at Alec. Glad to see you could pick up your nursing home roommate, Larry Fitzgerald, because you're both old, of course. So.
Man, that's so good.
I'm gonna smoke you this week, Alec. I'm just gonna keep it real.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe I can't. You know what I can't wait for? That says like in the middle of the trash talk is Neon and Alec and the Old Man Bowl.
Oh, the Old Man Bowl is gonna be legendary. If they both survive that long, of course.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we got Maloney at Neon, and Maloney. It's not gonna translate well. So I tried to download this picture, didn't work. Couldn't download it. So.
Didn't work.
Maloney says to Neon, "About to crush your team so bad it looks like this." And it is a painting.
Keep in mind, titled Neon Ether.
Yeah, yeah. It's titled Neon Ether, and he said that your team's about to look like this painting, and it's some kind of abstract oil slick painting. And let me read you what the artist Blase Goba had to say about this painting.
That sounds like a kicker.
I'm just gonna read a little bit off the end here. I can look at this for hours. This piece will look good in a popular nightclub, glowing under the black lights. So basically, he's saying he's gonna make your team into a tacky oil painting.
Well, interpret that how you will.
Yeah. And then we actually have a message from Peter, unfortunately. Peter's Dynasty team, will be getting into that in a bit, but he was the highest scoring team in either league with his Dynasty team. So, of course, he had something to say. He put up 194.24 points in Dynasty, which is ridiculous.
We'll get into that matchup, but that was I feel for Scopa.
But he wants this is a message to everybody in both leagues. So this is kind of him trying to intimidate people cross league with just his Dynasty performance right now. And he says, "Where did you get your fantasy team? At the toilet store?" And then he also added, "My fantasy football prowess is overflowing from Dynasty, so I want everyone to be afraid."
Do you think that was a note, or do you think that he's just letting everybody? He's just clarifying to everyone. I'm curious.
He's clarifying to everybody.
As you do.
Are you afraid though?
Am I afraid?
Yeah.
Of Peter's trash talk? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I flame Peter about every day in the fantasy football Discord, but I will say that I am horrified of his team, and I play them. So can't wait.
I was just gonna say that I'm not scared at all, and this dude's a clown.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Let's go with that.
Okay. So we're gonna move into the Dynasty matchups now. First one we're gonna talk about is myself versus Maloney, and I just barely escaped the sub 100 club, which was a good feeling because my last player was Josh Jacobs, and he looks phenomenal. So I had a rough week this week, but I'm super excited for the face of my franchise moving forward, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, your running back position in both leagues is very promising. It's especially with Dynasty. I mean, having him in there that's clutch. I think he's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, Cam Newton and Stephon Diggs, led to this poor performance on my part. Stephon Diggs with 5.7 points. Cam Newton, as we talked about with Matt Rich earlier, 6.36 points, which is just abysmal.
10 attempts for the Vikings, right?
Yeah, but that's what I wanted to say. Kirk Cousins only threw 10 passes, which honestly makes me scared for Diggs and Thielen because that's how they want this season to go.
Yeah, with their backfield looks fierce, their line looks fierce. I don't blame them, but it's scary.
It's definitely concerning for their wide receivers because they said going into the season we're going to be running the football. Like that's their game plan, is to run the offense through Dalvin Cook, which is great for me in redraft because I have him there. But it's terrible for me where I have Diggs, who was also fighting a hamstring tweak or something going into the week. He was questionable, but hopefully he can turn it around in the future.
Yeah, that was strange that like midweek break about him like not practicing one day and people thinking it was family stuff, and then it turned out he tweaked something, and then it was just kind of up in the air. It was weird.
And of course, Maloney has Patrick Mahomes. I faced Mahomes in both leagues. He put up 27.32 points. He like we said earlier, he pretty much took this first game in stride. Just picked up where he left off last season as an absolute juggernaut for fantasy.
And the stat I remember hearing recently, especially like right after the game, is that he either broke the record. I think he broke the record for his most passing yards in a game in the first half of that game.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. He had something like 200 yards in the first half.
Yeah, he's gonna. It means Mahomes. He's gonna be terrifying. I mean, he crushed his ankle, got up, and continued to sling it.
Yeah,
he's not gonna stop.
And Maloney's dynasty team is going to be fearsome for the next 10 years at least, with the core of Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and Saquon Barkley at running back. That's terrifying.
Set up. Yeah, he's set up.
That's two of the best young talents in all of football, and he's got both of them. It's definitely scary for the
arguably
future.
The two best talents in football.
Yeah,
just in general.
they both could definitely be argued. They're just two of the best players flat out.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. And Saquon, I mean, slower game like we talked about before, but I don't think that'll stay. And I mean, you saw him explode up the left side of the field and just allowed it to take like 50 yards or something like that. I mean, like on the second play of the game. So
yeah, and that
I don't think it's much worry.
That also speaks to how insane Saquon is. That almost 18 points is considered not that good of a week for him.
Yeah,
the dude is nuts. He's going to get his for the whole season. It's nothing to worry about.
Yep.
Okay, moving into the matchup between Peter and Scopa. Peter took the win, 194.24 to Scopa's 178.22. And this has been awarded the Big Dick Swing Off of the week with 372.46 total points.
Just a throwdown. An absolute swing off, dude.
That's pretty much the only way that you can describe it, is just being an absolute big dick swing off.
I feel like I've seen Scope in this situation before where he puts up ridiculous points and still loses. It's like a horrible joke at this point, I feel like.
Yeah, they were the two highest scoring teams in Dynasty this week by far. And for Scopa to catch that loss definitely hurts.
Yeah, that stings. But I mean, at least his team looks promising.
Oh yeah, he's feeling great moving forward, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is what I wanted to touch on earlier that I mentioned about Peter being the biggest homer that has ever existed. Let me read off some of his bench players. This dude's bench is literally looking like a Patriots preseason game right now. He's got Jarrett Stidham, the backup quarterback for the Patriots, on his dynasty bench. He's got Rob Gronkowski, inactive tight end.
And 50 pounds lighter.
Yeah, he also is looking slender, so who knows if he's coming back, like the rumors are saying. He's got James White, That's not a bad pickup.
But just another Pat.
Just adding it on to the list of Patriots here. Damian Harris. He's the rookie running back they picked up in the 3rd round this season.
Did he see any touches? Do you know? I'm curious.
No, I don't think so.
Well, they blew him out, and he didn't get touches, so that might be.
And then N'Keal Harry, who is on. That's of course the Patriots' 1st round wide receiver pick, who is on the injured reserve with an ankle injury, but he is slated to return. But it's
a ton of hype around him.
Yeah, a ton of hype around him for sure. It's dynasty, so I get the pickup of N'Keal Harry, but I just don't know about stashing a New England running back for however long it'll take for Damian Harris to get any carries ever.
Yeah, and Burkhead had massive usage in this game.
Yeah, like they love Burkhead, they love Sony, they love James White. I don't see Damian Harris getting on the field this year at all, one bit.
They all fill their own roles. No, but he can believe. The homer in him believes.
Yeah, I get it. He just wants to be the homer, and that's cool. Oh, he also just another detail that I missed. He's got Jimmy Garoppolo as his backup quarterback. Of course, ex-backup to Tom Brady. He is handsome, though.
He is handsome.
Most definitely handsome.
Definitely one of the more handsome boys. Not as handsome as Gardner Minshew, but...
Oh, Gardner Minshew. Do you want to just get into him right now? Take a brief intermission.
Gladly. Do you want me to read you a beautiful passage?
Yes.
So, Jags QB, Gardner Minshew, was quoted as saying, "I don't scratch my head unless it itches, and I don't dance unless I hear some music. I will not be intimidated. That's just the way it is. Let's go to work." Which, if doesn't give you chills, I think you're dead.
Gardner Minshew, of course, the backup for the Jags, who's coming in after Nick Foles broke his clavicle, and he came in and he killed it.
Yeah, his passer rating was obscene. Yeah, and he's a late round QB draft, so that's when you know.
And also, he looks like a 45-year-old porn star in 1987. Okay. Oh, I lost my spot in the notes, bro.
You lost me for a second too. I'm back though.
All right, word.
You lost your spot in the notes. We were just talking about Peter being a homer, so
yeah. So we're gonna head into the matchup between you and Neon. You can take this one away.
It's just another sad story for me. Neon's team looks promising. I mean, in the beginning of the of Sunday, especially with Lamar, I was hyped. Lamar Jackson looks ridiculous. I mean, I was set up with some of my solid running backs, solid wide receivers, and then Hill gets hurt in the first quarter, and Mixon comes out in the second and trashes my team, which, I mean, wasn't my only shortcoming. Somehow Kyler Murray salvaged a terrible first quarter and brought it back and dropped 22 points, which helped Neon, and it was like a cruel joke that I just watched unfold for 2 days.
Kyler Murray had a terrible first 3 quarters, first half. He was.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he was playing terribly until the fourth quarter.
And the thing is, we know he's short, but when he's on that field on week 1 game next to all the starters, he looks like 4 foot tall.
Yeah, he looks tiny for sure.
But he's got an arm, dude, and he can scramble. I mean, that throw to Fitzgerald was ridiculous. He's got an arm.
Oh yeah, he connected with old man Larry a few times.
Old man Larry, dude, just sticking around. Kyler could be his son, dude.
Yeah, seriously, Larry Jr.
Neon's team looks promising. I'm not completely out on my teams yet, but I am definitely concerned with the injuries, especially Hill. Possible IR to return status is terrifying. Held overnight in the hospital. It's not a good look. But whoever has Sammy Watkins in Dynasty may thrive.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on to the next matchup. We had Alec beating Matt Rich 149.62 to 98.64. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Rich, welcome to the sub 100 club.
Welcome. Is this the first one in Dynasty?
This is indeed the first one in Dynasty. And it's got to feel bad if you're Matt Rich.
It does. It does have to feel bad. Carry on. Not looking too hot. Chubb, definitely not looking hot. And Montgomery, not looking hot. It was
yeah. I think Carry-On's got to hurt the most because there was so much hype around him, and it seems like he's just going to bust based on the amount of usage Detroit will actually give him.
And Detroit is going to Detroit. It's the way it is, just like the Browns are going to Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so difficult because you see so much talent in these players, and their usage is just not equivalent to what you think they can produce. And maybe they do bust on their own talent, but it's all three of these running backs, and besides maybe excluding Chubb, got written out of getting points. Montgomery written out of getting points, and Carry On just not getting the usage that he's probably deserves.
Yeah, for sure. And Alex's team looks great. The Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins stack is nuts.
Stone Cold Steve Hopkins.
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Hopkins and Watson are gonna do him well until Watson's team just plays him into the dirt, which they love to do.
Which their O-line lets him get his more broken ribs, and then they fly him with broken ribs and punctured lung.
Yeah, that's been the story for the past couple years. How the staff at the Texans just have been letting him down. He's a phenomenal young quarterback, and they're just letting him get tossed around year after year.
The O-line looked improved. I mean, they held their own, but he just gets chewed up, man. I feel like his when he gets sacked, it's just violent. It's always violent.
Yeah, for sure, and it's repetitive too.
Andrew Luck this is kind of what he's talking about. I mean,
sure.
He was pissed about getting played through games where he's hurt and the staff not taking him serious. And I'm curious on how that unfolds with Watson, because they are, like you said, going to run him into the dirt.
All right, good game.
Scrambler.
Go ahead, bro.
Especially as a scrambling QB, like it's just.
Oh yeah, doing what he did on Monday night, just doing a diving 360 into the end zone, just getting smacked around, bruising his lower back on the play.
Yeah, so I would be nervous if I owned him, but at the same time, very.
But for now, it's great.
He continues to deliver.
So good game to Alec. We're going to move on to our last Dynasty matchup. And our last sub 100 club member of the week, it's Taylor. He's back. He was a sub 100 club member in both leagues. So that's got to feel terrible. And he was beaten by Crispy, who came in with 114.12 points.
Yeah, Taylor had a bad week. It's about as simple as I can put it.
That's you just really hate to see that. His kicker put up 0 points. His defense, Jacksonville, put up -4 points. Playing any defense versus Kansas City though, you're gonna get -4 points probably.
Yeah, 100%.
And
especially when Sammy Watkins is somehow a different human being.
Yeah, for sure.
And the best part about all that, speaking of Sammy Watkins, is that he had two of the most explosive players of week one on his bench, Sammy Watkins and D-Jax. I think both going for 2+ touchdowns, which is just...
yeah, D-Jax had 2, Sammy Watkins had 3.
Yeah, that's brutal. I think that it's promising. I mean, especially if he makes some changes. Maybe even if he doesn't make some changes, there's talent there. It's week one. I have to look at it the same way with my teams.
Yeah, that's what everyone's got to do. Don't overreact too hard. Week 1, stuff happens. These players will all like Davante Adams is the perfect example. There's no way that Davante Adams puts up 7.6 points every week. Not going to happen.
No.
The whole offense was just stalled out and looked awful.
It makes me, coming back to that game, which was so awful and is hard to go back to, it makes me terrified to stream any players against the defense. We thought they would maybe slow down, and they have not.
Oh, no. No way. They look unreal. Khalil Mack is a freak specimen of a human.
Yeah. And their whole D-line legitimately looks like experiments.
Yeah, 100%.
It's ridiculous.
Crispy was saved by Harrison Butker, put up 17 points. If Harry drops a goose egg like Matt Bryant did for Taylor, Crispy loses this game.
Which is crazy to think of. Just not a great matchup for either of them, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Just a rough week for both teams. But like I said, Crispy's the owner of Davante Adams in Dynasty, and he's gonna be fine. His team looks really good apart from the 2 busts of Davante Adams and Sony Michel.
Yep.
All right, so that's going to do it for the Dynasty matchups, and we're going to move into the Dynasty trash talk for next week. And Crispy had some words for Scopa that were personally my favorite of the roast this week.
Is it your favorite? This is your favorite?
This might be my personal favorite of the roast this week. Crispy says to Scopa, "At least after you lose, you'll still have your waifu."
I like that one. It's pretty good.
Scopa, the notorious weeaboo of the league.
The notorious weeaboo of the league. You know, I respect Scopa for embracing it.
Listen,
everybody else
Scopa
tries to hide it.
He loves it. What can you
a
say?
Weeb legacy.
You know, he's
legacy.
Exactly. He's in here representing the weeaboos. And I think he's going to do well for himself. Comes in here,
look scary.
Second highest scoring team.
Both his teams look scary.
And then Alec had some words for Taylor. He said, "I'm about to smoke you more than Cush Gordon will after he gets cut week 5 for Ricky Williamsing himself out of the league."
I love that. That one's so good.
Ricky Williams, of course, had multiple failed drug tests due to marijuana. He was a running back for, I think, the Dolphins. I might be totally wrong.
I don't know. I can look him up. This just adds more to. Let's see. He played in the CFL too, dude.
Oh,
Went
okay.
to Texas.
So he smoked himself to the CFL.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Taylor, you better watch out, bro, because that's a lot of kush. So Alec is gonna smoke you into the dirt, is what it sounds like.
Just to confirm, he did play running back for the Dolphins.
Okay, cool. Next bit of trash talk we have here is Maloney for Matt Rich. Maloney says, "My girlfriend just beat you," that being Ariana in the redraft, of course. "Can only imagine how Tyreek I'm gonna go on you." Also, Matt Rich is a werewolf, which is, of course, a reference to the game Werewolves. A very fun deception-based game. That's a rough one.
A fun deception-based game.
It's deception-based, and I've played it with Matt Rich and Maloney. It was a good time. Okay, and then the last bit of trash talk here is
this is my favorite.
This is from me, and like I said earlier, I'm facing the geriatric unit this week, and this is for Neon. I noticed that you have Delaney Walker on your Dynasty team, which is fitting because you're going to need a Walker in about 5 years.
Got him so good.
Because all I know about you is that you're old. So I went with what I know.
And you did it well.
Thank you. I appreciate that from my co-host.
It's definitely my favorite. I can't wait to trash talk next week, but I honestly, I can't. There's a definite tiredness to me.
Yes.
But there's also just a definite shame in my performance in week 1.
You're feeling deflated.
I am.
Got a case of the week 1 woozies. It's not a big deal.
Common case.
Yeah, exactly.
Shake it off this week.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You got anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. I'm probably gonna trash Peter. That's about it.
Okay, so we do get a little bit of trash talk from Peyton.
Yeah, but it's just because I have to dumpster Peter in one of these leagues.
All right, well, I wish you luck, and that is going to be it for the first installment of Dude Pigskin. We hope you all enjoyed this, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Later.